Hi, I'm Rick Hayes. Welcome to my studio in Amesbury, Massachusetts. I'd like you to come on in and I'll show you some of my artwork and talk a little bit about the kind of stuff that I do. Come on in. So this studio is in 14 Cedar Street in Amesbury, Mass, and it's a converted factory building. Amesbury was once a huge factory town, and this building has 3 floors. It's filled with artists as well as other kinds of businesses. But here's where I have my gallery and my working studio. The work that I do here is mainly in oils, and oil painting is something I started about 15 years ago. I'd done artwork my whole life before that, but not oils. And I usually work from photographs that I've taken. I choose subjects that are of interest to me. I'm not sure they're of interest to everyone. I usually work on photographs that I've taken either here locally in the New England area or worldwide. I've done a lot of international travel, and certainly that gives you plenty of subject matter to work from. My career was a different profession entirely. Art was not my profession. This is something I've really done more after retiring, but I come from a family where everyone does art. I have a brother who is a professor of art. My daughter's a professional illustrator. My nephew is a storyboard designer for Hollywood. So everyone in my family drew all the time, and my whole life I've done artwork. I've taken courses everywhere. I'm sure over the course of my life I have the equivalent of an art school education, everything from sculpture to printmaking to children's book illustration. I've done all those courses. But I didn't do oil painting until about 15 years ago when I was living on the Navajo reservation and had some time on my hands. I'd always considered oil painting to be very daunting or very scary. Turns out it's very forgiving, and it's something that's really enjoyable. I've tried acrylics, but I prefer the feel of oil. It takes a little longer, it doesn't dry as fast, but I love the way it dries off the brush, and I think it gives you a great opportunity to really express yourself. So that's what I've settled on mainly. Still draw, still do some watercolors, but oil painting is really what I've been doing for the last 15 years, pretty much all the time. So these are some examples of paintings I've done from my international travel. I've done volunteer work in Africa and also in Haiti. And these ladies were in the Entebbe airport in Uganda, having a little conversation like young women everywhere. I could only guess what they were saying. This is a lovely mother and child on a boat in the middle of Lake Victoria. She came out of a little shack, dressed immaculately in white. When I said, "May I take your photograph?" she said, "Just a moment." She adjusted her child just right, and then I took the photograph. This guy was the first Haitian I saw when I went to Haiti after the earthquake. He was a border guard between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. He looks scarier than he really is. He was wearing the mask because it was really dusty. But that was the first Haitian individual that I got to meet. This is kind of a sad story. This is after the Haitian earthquake. This is a lady who was living under a table. That was her home. That was her shelter. I call that picture "Give Me Shelter." There was a lot of that. And here are a couple of Haitian guys in a rowboat that by any other standard would not be considered seaworthy, but they were there along the coast in Haiti offering rides if you wanted to take one. So this is sort of the exotic end of my stuff. The rest of it is much more New England oriented, except for this gentleman. I spent a year living on the Navajo reservation, and this is a 92-year-old Navajo elder. He was actually hitchhiking. I gave him a ride, and I said, "Can I take your picture?" And he said, "Sure." So we spent a lot of time on Martha's Vineyard. This bull is in the part of the vineyard they call Up Island. When I went to take his photograph, he was not pleased and was coming pretty quickly in my direction when I took the picture. So I tried to capture that. The shadow from the horn going across his eye, I think, makes him look kind of like a pirate, and I kind of like that. I spent time at the Peabody Essex Museum, and this is a painting of a figurehead that's there. It was carved by a fellow named Simeon Skillins in 1804. And that lady, it's a figurehead that has not been restored. It's cracked and the paint is peeled off it. So in 1804 she was attached to a ship, and at that time the Salem ships were going around the world, so I don't know what she saw in her life, but she probably saw quite a lot. This again is a photograph that's on Good Harbor Beach in Gloucester on a cold winter morning. I call that love on a wintry beach. The two kind of nuzzling together to stay warm. In the distance, that little tiny vertical stroke is Thatcher's Island. So this is pretty much what I do. Vermont Barns, Eastern Point Light. This is a barn in Essex, on the edge of the marsh. Recently, I've been trying to work from a bunch of old photographs, old black and white photographs. This is a photograph of a tenement in the early 1900s in New York City. Kids playing baseball in this little alley on wash day. I like to work with these old-fashioned photographs and try to bring them to life. So going from a black and white picture, trying to make it into a color painting. And finally, perhaps just one more comment to make. This again was in Uganda. This was a lady walking along the street next to me. Ugandans speak English, fortunately. And I said, "May I take your picture?" And she said, "Oh, no, no, no." And then she took about 3 steps beyond me and then turned around and gave me this great smile. So I was able to capture that with her balancing her breadfruit on her head and her baby on her back, and with that nice warm smile. So it's really great. It's really great to use art as you travel the world, and everywhere from out of Barcelona to Georgetown, Massachusetts. Well, thanks for coming to visit. This gallery space is open. Feel free to contact me with the information at the bottom of this video, and hope to see you. Thank you very much.